But yeah, thank you both for taking time out. Obviously, we're here to talk about Redux Redux. This is a film that I don't think I necessarily shut up about since I caught it out of South by Southwest. So it's nice to be able to actually talk to people involved, rather than just people that are like, "What film? It's not out yet. Why are you talking to me about this film?" Um, I guess that the obvious first question for you both is, what was it about your characters of Irene and Mia that you both connected to?
I mean, sh- I, I think when you play any character, there is a part, there is a link in you, and like because we're, complex, layered human beings, there's like all these different facets of you that exist, and then you tap into a few of them, and what you find connects, and then that and the script all come together, and you make a character. And so I think with Mia, I got to just be fully reckless, reckless with abandon, and have like the energy and the angst that I did have when I was 15, 16. And I mean, I was only 19 when we shot this movie, but it felt like when you're 19, 15 feels like lifetimes ago. And so you know, but you kind of you have like all the cares in the world, like everything means so much, but you don't have the sort of you have tunnel vision about it. So in a sense, you like have nothing to lose and you don't care. And so having that like drive and passion was really fun for me.
And I would say for myself, getting to tap into this character was almost therapeutic for me. I have three kids. I'm a mom, and I think, no one knows rage like a mother scorned. And I think that's the really interesting part of Irene is that yes, she's vulnerable and there's a soft side to her, and there is a rage and there's a fire in her and this sort of warrior character. Both things can be true at the same time. I loved getting to play the dichotomy of, that for this character. And it's just not something that to play this very fully dimensional role with just a whole range of experiences and emotions. It's just such a great opportunity as an actor. And it was just something I could connect to really, truly right away, which is also such a gift. So we could just like get right into the meat of it all on day one. Yeah, it's very, very fulfilling as an actor to play a role like this.
And Irene, obviously, she's kind of like, she's the character that the audience travel through this, world, or these, worlds with, which means, for you as the actor, you're in kind of pretty much like every scene almost. How do you prepare for that kind of intensity? Because obviously it's a lot easier when it's more of an ensemble piece, but here, it's pretty much, Irene all the time.
Yeah, in some ways, I actually find that is more helpful as an actor when you don't have the time off in between. You're just you jump in and you lock in all the way. And I do find that then it's just easier to find your rhythm, to stay in it. Definitely intense. It was 3 full-on weeks of night shoots, and we shot in LA, which is where I live. So the benefit of that, of course, is I sleep in my own bed, I drive my own car, I'm in my home life, but also, to compartmentalize that, my role as a mom, and I'm coming home at, I don't know, 6 in the morning, and my kids are getting ready to go off to camp. And dealing with the material that is so dark. Having to kind of switch between those two roles was certainly intense for me, but also I think in some ways helpful, because when you're faced with your own beautiful life and the relationships I have with my family, and then to go and play this character who that's been taken from her, it's right there. It's really easy to access.
And Stella, Redux Redux, you've done some short films before. Your first feature. How did you find the experience? I mean, obviously it's an independent film, so it was, as Michaela was saying, quite a short, intense shoot. But how did you find the experience?
We were actually talking about this yesterday. I was telling Michaela how I got back to New York after filming, and my manager we were talking about my experience, and he was just like, well, tell me everything. And I just kind of sat there and I was like, I mean, that I love this script and I loved this character so much. And then the directors, they were so wonderful and so kind. And I fell in love with Michaela. And also everyone on the crew was so great and so kind. And like I made so many friends and it was so welcoming. And it was kind of like baffling how perfect of an experience it is, because it's such a rare thing. Like you can love a project with all your heart and there will still be like tension or riffs or bumps along the road, but like genuinely, there were none in this experience. So I was kind of spoiled from the jump because I have really high expectations now, because everyone was just like a dream to work with. And it was already a dream come true, like to be making a movie in the first place and then to be trusted with such a role. It was phenomenal, really.
And so much of the film, is based around, this, relationship between, Mia and Irene. They kind of, they meet under, really awful, in a really awful situation. And then, they're butting heads. They're both kind of trying to come to terms with their grief and their trauma. This is a short shoot. How did you guys go about building up that dynamic? Because as much as, these are kind of almost, two women bonded by trauma, there's also a lot of lightness to their dynamic as well.
I
Yeah,
think it was
go ahead.
kind of immediate. Oh no, I was just gonna say with Michaela, there was kind of an immediate sense of a bond and feeling like welcomed. And like we had chemistry, if I say so myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that you just never know how that's going to play out. And I would say it was pretty nerve-wracking when we were doing chemistry reads, and you're like, we don't have time to develop that relationship, right? Like we really have to jump in. And so I think we just got really lucky because Stella and I clicked right off the bat, and it just felt easy. And that is when you're thanking, the stars. You're like, okay, everything aligns here, and it's just going to make the work so much easier. And yeah, that's just really lucky, kismet.
And the film, it works kind of as a road movie. There's lots of locations. Again, an independent film shooting in so many locations. Like, and I think Kevin and Matthew are pretty insane with the amount of locations that they got. But did you both have any particular favorite places where you got to shoot?
That burger. Um, we also we there was some, I mean, I'm from New York and I've been to California a lot, but it was a different, you know, side of, first of all, being there for work, but also driving out like 2 hours sometimes, like every day in a week to go shoot in the canyons and like be in the desert. And we were on location at one point far. I don't know where we were, but we were in a canyon, and it was kind of this. It was a film set that people rented out, where we go to the gas station and we buy the new truck. And it was just like this very old timey, like they had all these like off-brand fake cans of dog food or crisp chips and sweets and things. And that was really cool because it was like a gas station from what looked like, Palm Beach in the 1960s in the middle of the desert. That was a dream, yeah.
Yeah, these like it was eerie, these sort of canyons you'd have to drive through to get to our location, and we'd be doing these night shoots. So like the sun setting and you're going down these windy roads, and I'm driving by myself like, oh my God, I'm losing service. And definitely helps put you in the right frame of mind, where because we were just out in the feeling it was like middle of nowhere, a lot of these places. And oftentimes I would give Stella a lift back, to LA or to the center where we were staying and living. And it kind of offered us a nice opportunity because a lot of these places were like an hour out, you know, and then we'd get in the car after like a long, and she'd keep me awake driving home and bonds during that time. But yeah, the locations definitely helped us immerse ourselves in the story for sure.
One thing that I really like is not only have you got two central, female characters, but they're both female characters that are allowed to be vulnerable, but also heroic. I think both characters, there's some stunt work involved. That must be quite fun as an actor to not only get to do the dramatic side of things, but also to kind of, embrace your inner Sarah Connors.
Totally, totally. I mean, the stunt work was wild because we had an awesome stunt team and stunt performers, but my brothers, they know I'll do anything, right? Like, so they have no problem asking me, like, we got this with the stunt performer, but God, it would be great if you could get in there. And so I was doing all kinds of crazy things. I mean, when that drag down the dock, it was like just a splintered up dock. And I think they put like band-aids on each of my fingers so that I wouldn't get splinters as they're like pulling me in. That's like pretty full force. I mean, pulling me through those that like, oh my God, just itchy ground where he's taking me to the dock. I mean, it's quite intense. Yeah, a lot of wild stunt work, but also just like I don't get that opportunity to play those kinds of roles. So I was more than happy to jump in and you just it helps you get there, I think too, as an actor when you're really getting into the nitty-gritty of it all, you know?
Yeah. And if you were, the film's obviously based kind of around the multiverse. If you were to, visit yourself in another universe, what do you guys think you'd be up to?
Um, we we were just discussing this actually, and I'll give a different answer than I gave last time. I would probably be living on a farm somewhere. I'd like to have a farm and have maybe like three or four horses and some cows and maybe some alpacas and chickens running around. I think that'd be quite nice.
For
No
you.
responsibilities, just yeah.
I think that's really interesting too, because, I live in LA, but I grew up on the East Coast and I certainly always envisioned myself growing old on the East Coast. And who knows, maybe I still will, but I had to kind of like reshape my life living in LA. And I kind of it would be really interesting to kind of wake up and be like, what would it be like to be in Hudson Valley, New York? And that's kind of always like the fantasy of the seasons and just like, yeah, different different experience of life in a different part of the country.
I guess, my final question to you both, Redux Redux is, hitting theaters on the 20th of February. Why should audiences go out and see this film?
It's such a good time. I mean, I really feel like the movie delivers on a lot of different levels. If you're into sci-fi, great. If you're into moving human drama, great. Like it checks a lot of boxes. You're not going to sit in the theater for like 5 hours. It's the perfect amount of time. It's You were pulled in right from jump. I think my brothers did such an awesome job at like keeping the story moving. And you're just not going to experience it the same way at home as if when you're in the theater. The sound, it's visually, it's a movie that's meant to be seen in a theater. So I really hope people get out and see it in that and have that experience with it.
Yeah, agreed. Go with a bunch of friends or go alone and make friends with strangers by screaming at the screen. It's just a
Well, thank you both so much for your time and good luck with the film's release.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you again.